Hello, I'm FBX and this is Q&A Saturday, a weekly series I run on my channel where I answer your questions from the past week or so, not only on last week's Q&A, but also from Twitter sometimes, like in this week's case. And although these questions are mostly about the next update for Minecraft on the console, which we're currently calling TU50, by the way, pretty nice name, a lot of them tend to be about anything else that people have been asking me, and that's what today's Q&A Saturday is all about. Hopefully you all do enjoy the video, like it if you do, because it helps out the channel a lot, and let's know you do like the Q&As. But with that said, let's get straight into it, shall we? And let's start with the first question, which comes in from Toasted Anxiety, I like the name by the way, who says, you stopped doing the hello, great job, I'm proud of you. So, fun fact about the hello, that whole thing, the intro with the crazy number of H's or O's, or how people are actually saying it, is I couldn't spot that I was doing it for the longest time, and whenever people would tell me that, like, oh, you're saying hello wrong, I'd be like, no, wait, you think you can tell me to say hello differently? No, and that's why it's stuck for so long, and I think realistically, the way it is right now, I can't even tell the difference between the two, so if it's changed, that's good news, but it's really hard for me to even properly notice, and sometimes I'll do, start and I'll be like, wait, did I say it bad or good, or I don't even know anymore, and yeah, I don't know, there's something about the letter H apparently when it comes to recording, because when you start the recording, you're like, oh, I'm going to get this thing going, you can't just start talking to a microphone, and apparently that H sound was just how I did that. So yeah, what was the I did stop doing it, thank you for being proud of me, but I have no idea how it stopped, and honestly, the comments that kept on saying like, oh, Toycat, that makes me cringe, or whatever ridiculous stuff, maybe go, yeah, you think you can control me? No, you can't, and then I just do it extra hard. But yeah, if it stopped right now, that's good, but I can't honestly tell. Sometimes it's hard to be entirely sure. So yeah, let's move to the second question, which isn't just about my own intro, which comes in from Sarge, or Pexy Sarge, who says, at IBX Toycat, will we get the 1.9 combat in TU50? So this is something that I've been wondering myself a lot recently, actually, and I really don't think it's quite likely. So assuming TU50 is the next, major content update, which, there still could be another mashup pack or something before the next update. So, let's assume it is, though, for now, TU50, next big update. Would it include 1.9 combat? I think probably not, because, again, Jeb has made a bunch of comments about how 1.9 combat's good on the PC, how he's not going to remove it, but he thinks, like, the other platforms haven't done it yet, and it might be a mistake to rush into doing so. So, given that the console, that's like a decent amount of development for the console, and there's like a lot of things they'd have to do, I think, new combat and, TU50 would be something that would surprise me. I think what they might do is they might phase it in, or they might wait till the PC, like, makes it a little bit less, obnoxious or something like that, to try and, make less people unhappy, because, let's be honest, there's gonna be, a whole army of people who are just like, hey, I like this one YouTuber who told me that new combat sucks, so I'm gonna go ahead and, tell you the worst for Jay, and, why would they spend time developing a feature that, like, so many people would hate? I think that's why we won't see it anytime too soon. So yeah, new combat, not in TU50, I hope at some point in the future, but who knows for certain. With that said, let's move on to the third question, shall we, which comes in from Adam Chanley, who says, at IBX Toycat, is there any hope for Commandblocks, and when will we get Llamas? So yeah, is there any hope for Commandblocks? I don't really think so in the nearish future, because bear in mind, what they've been waiting for, I think they didn't say this directly, but they basically hinted at it, that when the PC gets a GUI for the Commandblocks, i.e. something they do graphically on the screen to make it a bit easier, I think that's when it will come to console, because right now, the only way to work a command block is to type in all of those lines of text by hand, and imagine hearing like, oh yeah, there's this thing you can do using command blocks, and you're like, oh, I'm so excited. All you have to do is type this thing out, and bear in mind, some of these command blocks are like 300 pages long or something, and you're like, oh, I guess I'll get started today, and I'll be finished by tomorrow evening. So that's why command blocks aren't in the game right now. They've said many times they're not going to put it in the same way it is on the PC, so they're probably going to wait until the PC introduces a better command block, and they're going to put that in the game. And when will we get Llamas? I think it will be almost certainly the next big, like, featurey update, so it could be the one, this first half this year. We'll have to wait and see how that goes, but I think Llamas are going to come pretty soon. Don't you worry, Adam Chanley. So yeah, with that said, let's move on to the fourth question, which comes in from PlayRealHD, who says, #AskToycat. Why do some British YouTubers use dollars instead of pounds? So yeah, if you watch any of my videos when I'm talking about like the price of a mashup pack or, this or that, in this case, I think it was probably the Fallout battle mashup pack thing, or whatever that thing is actually called, the battle map pack for Fallout, whatever it is. But yeah, that costs $2.99 or like $2.79. But the thing about it is, yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, Toycat, but you don't use the dollar in the UK. The reason I use the dollar whenever I'm talking about prices on the internet is because the internet, fun fact, is made up of people from every single country. However, the US dollar is usually used as like the exchange, like the the international currency. And this is something I discovered when I was like 12 and 13. Like I when I had my own website and I was like buying and selling stuff, you'd realize that like, oh, so I'm going to do some writing services for a guy in Bangladesh. I live in the UK. What is he going to pay me in, like Bangladesh currency or in UK currency? That doesn't make too much sense. So he paid me in US currency, and because the US currency is usually a bit more stable than all the other ones, like at least comparatively, it means that $100 US is roughly $100 US 5 years from now, and that is why the US dollar is used so much on the internet. And when it comes to news, it's that, thing combined with the fact that, oh yeah, you've got to think, like, when you're talking to people that use, like, let's say there's like 50 or 60 different currencies of people who watch this, of the people who watch this channel. There are like people who use the euro, people who use the Canadian dollar, the Australian dollar, the peso, whatever else, like everyone has all these different currencies, but most people know their exchange rate from their currency to the dollar, because, I know like a pound is roughly like $1.20 or the other way around or whatever. You might know that a euro is like roughly a dollar, and everyone knows their thing from the dollar, so that is why the dollar is the most useful measurement, and that is why I usually will say dollars instead of pounds. Now, there's a full explanation. Hopefully some of that's like actually useful to your outside life outside this, because again, if you do any business on the internet, which, pro tip, good way to make money if you're like, not legally able to work in the real world, then yeah, you're probably going to get paid in dollars, and if you live somewhere that's not the US, you might be confused by that, because I know, again, when I was like 13, people were like, oh, what use do I have for dollars, man? And I had to be like, they exchange it before they give it to you. They don't just hand you a $10 note, dude. But yeah, that generally happened like a whole bunch when I'd speak to people about it. But yeah, anyway, with that said, let's move on to the next question, shall we? Which comes in from Compare Game, who says, at IBX Toycat, will the shield be placed without affecting the combat system? Greetings from Spain. Oh, you're from Spain. That's pretty cool. I heard a rumor that the rain in Spain falls mostly on the plane. But yeah, will the shield be placed without affecting the combat system? I assume that you're asking, like, will it come into the game before, the combat system? And I think the easiest answer to that question is no, because you got to think, right now, the shield came into the game as a result of the sword being split into two items. The sword, the hitting bit, and the blocking bit, because the block obviously couldn't exist anymore, so it got turned into the shield, so you could use the sword and the shield separately. Right now, there is no need to do that, because there is no dual wielding. You wouldn't need to have the new combat system for the new shield, but you would need to have dual wielding, and, again, the dual wielding thing from earlier, where, like, I don't know if they're necessarily going to do that, is kind of in place. I really would like to see them do it, but again, it's something we won't likely see. So if you're excited about shields, maybe they'll put it in there as, like, a weird singular item, but it makes no sense when you've got, like, single wielding, because why would you ever have a shield when you could have a sword? So that's the answer to your question. Let's move on to the next one, which comes in from Mitchell Boyce. Boyce, I don't know why I can't pronounce that properly, but Boost, I guess, who says, #Q, if I look hard enough, will I eventually find you playing Undertale on your channel? If you haven't already done so, will you? So, first of all, I have played Undertale on my channel, and if you look, you will find this stuff. And second of all, can I just make a quick PSA, because I feel like YouTube doesn't encourage you to search people's channels. YouTube just wants you to go on your homepage and click whatever they want you to watch, and, that's what you deal with as a YouTuber now, right? However, if you want to watch some Toycat videos, and you're like, I want to see if he's done this, and that, if you go to my channel by, like, clicking the cat somewhere below this video, or, capping or whatever, depending on what device you're on, you actually can, like, I've made, like, 3,000 videos at this point, and I've covered a whole bunch of stuff that, like, every now and then, I want to remake a video just because I know no one's going to find the old one. So if you want to see some cool Toycat facts about, like, like, creepers and sugarcane, and you want to see a playthrough of Undertale or this or that, search the channel, look for it that way. Please do, because, again, YouTube's never going to tell you to do that, because it doesn't want you to. But if you want to see the secret truth of Toycat playing Undertale, or Toycat explaining secret uses for fireworks, or, like, again, there's a whole bunch of videos, you can check them out that way. And, again, hopefully someone has learned that, and they're like, oh, actually, yeah, good point, you got a lot of videos. Maybe I haven't seen one, because, when I first discovered a YouTube channel, I love to binge watch for all the videos, but YouTube kind of discourages that more. But if you want to do that too, I have a YouTube channel sometimes. And with that said, let's move on to the next question, which comes in from A is for Awesome, who says, #Q, Toycat, what is your favorite feature in Minecraft so far? And keep up the good videos. So thank you very much, A is for Awesome. But what is my favorite feature in Minecraft so far? I would say it's if you have to pick a single feature, it's the Elytra, right? Or the Elytra. It's got to be one of the best features, because for a single feature, there's a cool way to get it, there's a cool way to use it, and everyone loves it. I can't think of anyone who's like, oh, this flying thing sucks. It changes up the game so much, but in a way that's just universally accepted as fun and cool. And then there's the depth of, like, oh yeah, well, you combine it with a firework to boost extra hard, or you hit yourself arrows, and you can do cool stuff like that. I love the Elytra so much, and I feel like it's one of the best individual additions they've put into the game. And yeah, that is that thing right there, A is for Awesome. Let's move on to the next question, which comes in from Dylan Friend, who says, hi Toycat, do you think that the Wii U edition will be cancelled with the Xbox 360 and the PS3? So, easy to answer this question. I think it will be, because at this point, the Wii U is a last-gen console. Or, yeah, as of yesterday, when my Switch arrived. I'm recording this a little bit in advance, but as of yesterday, the Wii U is a last generation console, and that means that, it's got the same, limitations and all that sort of stuff. Like, people aren't buying Wii U's. There are very few Wii U's out there. They've probably sold all the Wii U's they're going to sell, and I think that means you've got, like, at least a couple of years in all three of those consoles, but I think all three of those, as well as probably the PS Vita, will all phase out at the same time. Or maybe the Wii U will phase out a little bit later, but it's definitely not going to last for, like, 20 years, because who's going to have a Wii U in, like, 10 years? Who's going to have a Wii U in, like, 5 years even? That's a big question I think we need to know the answer to, and I'm sorry about that. Anyone who, like, watches this on the Wii U, I have a Wii U too. I understand your pain too. It hurts me that the Wii U, the Wii U's going where it is. It's just, that's the truth. Let's deal with it together. Don't leave an angry comment being like, no, Toy Cat, the Wii U's the best console. It's going to sell better than the Switch. Trust me. Let's just deal with our grief together, okay? But yeah, with that said, let's move on to the next question, which comes in from Truth Seeker, who says, IBX Toy Cat, do you think we will get the Woodland Mansion? So will there be a Woodland Mansion in TU50? I think, or in general, in the next update, including 1.11, I think we actually will, but I think the idea of the Woodland Mansion has to be changed up a lot for console. Maybe it gets made smaller. Maybe it just gets made really, really common. Maybe both those things happen. Maybe it becomes a part of a bigger update and they had the mansion first then something else. It's hard to be entirely certain, but I do think that we will get the Woodland Mansion in some form because it's not impossible to add. It just has to be changed up quite a bit. So yeah, that's the answer to your question. Let's move on to the final one, which comes in from Nice Comet 828, who says #Q. There's a chance of they. Where do you plan on visiting next in Europe? So next Saturday, I'm going to Amsterdam because my brother has a birthday and apparently he's over there. And then I haven't got it planned just yet, but I really want to visit the Czech Republic. So the Czech Republic, I think that's what they call themselves, but officially they changed their English name recently. They're the most recently name-changed country, so they went from being, like Czechoslovakia to being the Czech Republic, and now in English you're officially meant to call them Czechia to some extent. And so Czechia is their new name, and I figure, let's go to Czechia because I hear Prague is amazing, and also Prague was in Deus Ex Mankind Divided, so I've seen a bit, and I always love this. This will sound ridiculous on the surface, but trust me, this is a real thing. I always love going to the real life places that video games are based on because you can always see the influence in there, and sometimes it's a really, really good replica, sometimes it's not. But either way, it's amazing to be like, oh, this thing was in the video game. I guess it's like how people like to see the Hollywood sign, and I've always cool to see that too. But it's like that, except the real life version of a game I played recently. So yeah, with that said, that is where I plan on visiting Europe next. Amsterdam technically is next, but I've been there before, even if for a couple of hours. So I'm going to see that properly, and then I'm going to go to Czechia, which is the next new country I'm going to. So with that said, hope you all enjoyed today's Q&A Saturday. If you did all enjoy it, you can like the video, because that helps out the channel a lot, and, I don't know, feeds the family or something like that. Share the video if you really liked it, and subscribe if you're new around here, because I make videos like this one every single day on my channel, and if you subscribe, you'll see those too daily on your homepage. And if you want, you can go back through the channel, you can watch every one of the 3,000 videos, and if you can watch all 3,000, I will send you a cookie, except, the edible type, and not my cat, because that's not a good idea. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I'll see you all next time. Bye!